Have you ever wondered why the beautiful Nile River, a cradle of civilization, also holds a reputation for danger? This enchanting river, a lifeline for millions, is steeped in mystery and intrigue. Flowing north for over 4,000 miles, the Nile is the world's longest river, snaking through 11 diverse countries, from Burundi to Egypt. It has been the lifeblood for countless civilizations, its fertile banks nurturing societies since ancient times. The Nile's waters have been the stage for epic tales of exploration and conquest, its currents carrying stories of pharaohs, pyramids, and powerful dynasties. Beyond its historical significance, the Nile plays a crucial role in the ecosystem, supporting a rich tapestry of flora and fauna, some of which are found nowhere else on Earth. But beneath the surface of this majestic river lies a more sinister narrative. Now let's delve into the Nile's past to uncover its perils. Journey back to the times of the pharaohs where the Nile's dangers first became apparent. Picture a river, serene and tranquil, yet beneath its calm surface a deadly embrace lurks. Each year, the Nile would break its banks, spilling over into the neighboring lands. This annual flood was a double-edged sword for the ancient Egyptians. On one hand, it brought life-sustaining water and fertile silt, turning the desert green and enabling the growth of crops. On the other hand, it was an unpredictable beast, its timing and intensity subject to the whims of nature. There were years when the flood was too low, causing severe droughts and famine. Then there were years when the flood was too high, wiping away entire villages, drowning livestock, and destroying crops. This unpredictability of the Nile's annual floods was a constant source of fear and anxiety for the ancient Egyptians, a reminder of the river's deadly embrace. But the Nile's threats weren't just about the floods. Its waters were also fertile breeding grounds for disease-carrying insects. Malaria, a disease transmitted through the bite of an infected mosquito, was a common scourge in ancient Egypt. This deadly disease brought high fevers, chills, and often death. Another disease that plagued the inhabitants of the Nile was schistosomiasis, a disease caused by parasitic worms. These worms thrived in the slow-moving waters of the Nile, infecting those who waded, swam, or washed in the river. The disease caused severe abdominal pain and could lead to long-term damage to the liver and intestines. So while the Nile was a source of life, providing water, transportation, and fertile soil, it was also a source of death, bringing destruction through its floods and disease through its waters. The Nile's hazards were not just confined to ancient times, they evolved, just as the civilizations around it did. As we move into the colonial era, the Nile's dangers took on a new form. With the arrival of European powers, the Nile's resources were exploited, bringing with it a new wave of threats. The river, once a life-giving force, became a conduit for colonial interests. Its waters were harnessed for irrigation and hydroelectric power, disrupting the natural flow and affecting the delicate balance of the ecosystem. The colonial era also saw the introduction of invasive species into the Nile. One such interloper was the water hyacinth, a beautiful but destructive plant native to South America. Unchecked by natural predators, the water hyacinth proliferated rapidly, clogging the river's arteries and choking off sunlight, which in turn led to a decline in aquatic biodiversity. This floating menace not only disrupted the ecosystem but also impeded navigation and fishing, impacting the livelihoods of those who relied on the river. But the damage didn't stop at the ecosystem. The Nile, once a symbol of life and fertility, became a breeding ground for disease. As colonial infrastructure projects disrupted the natural flow of the Nile, stagnant pools of water became incubators for disease-carrying mosquitoes. Malaria and schistosomiasis, a parasitic disease also known as snail fever, spiked in the regions along the Nile. The impact of these diseases was devastating. Malaria, a well-known killer, took a heavy toll on the local population. Schistosomiasis, although less lethal, was debilitating, causing chronic illness that hampered productivity and stunted growth in children. In essence, the Nile, once revered as a giver of life, was transformed during the colonial era into a source of ecological disruption and disease. The river's dangers, once confined to its powerful currents and predatory wildlife, had now taken on a more insidious form. But the Nile's threats didn't stop there. They kept pace with the rapid progress of the modern world. The story of the Nile is a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the delicate balance between man and nature. and the potentially devastating consequences when that balance is disrupted. In the present day, the Nile's dangers have transformed yet again, reflecting our changing world. Climate change, the modern era's looming specter, has not spared the Nile. Rising temperatures have disrupted age-old weather patterns, leading to erratic rainfall and causing the river to swing between devastating floods and crippling droughts. These extremes are not only making life unpredictable for those who depend on the Nile, but also threatening the delicate balance of the river's rich biodiversity. The Nile's crocodiles, hippos, and countless species of fish and birds are all feeling the heat, quite literally. The effects of climate change on the Nile are not isolated events. They're deeply interconnected with another modern challenge: water rights. As the river's flow becomes more unpredictable, countries along its course are increasingly at odds over who has the right to its precious waters. Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia are locked in a tense tug-of-war over the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, a mega-project that could drastically alter the Nile's flow. This dispute, if left unresolved, has the potential to escalate into a full-blown conflict, making the river a geopolitical hotspot. But the Nile's dangers are not limited to the natural and political realm. Pollution, largely a byproduct of rapid industrialization and urbanization, is turning the river into a breeding ground for waterborne diseases. Untreated sewage, agricultural runoff, and industrial waste are all pouring into the Nile, tainting its once pristine waters. This grim reality threatens the health of millions who rely on the river for their water needs. In the face of these modern challenges, the Nile continues to flow, a testament to its resilience. But it's a resilience that's being tested like never before. And as the world around it changes, so too does the nature of its dangers. The Nile's dangers, as we've seen, are as varied as the river itself. The Nile, a symbol of life and death, continues to be a paradox of beauty and danger. As we've journeyed along this majestic river, we've encountered its many faces, each one revealing a new facet of its character, its allure, and its dangers. Historically, the Nile has been both a giver and taker of life. Its unpredictable floods occurring once every year were a double-edged sword. For the ancient civilizations that lined its banks, the floods were a source of fertile soil, aiding agriculture and food production. Yet they were also agents of destruction, wiping out crops, homes, and even lives when they were particularly intense. Fast forward to the colonial era, the Nile found itself at the center of ecological threats. The construction of dams and canals, while beneficial for human development, had severe implications for the river's ecosystem. Native species of fish and birds began to disappear, unable to adapt to the changing conditions. The river's flow was altered, its natural rhythms disrupted, leading to unforeseen consequences for the fauna and flora that depended on it. In our modern era, the Nile faces an array of new challenges. Climate change looms large, altering rainfall patterns and leading to more extreme flood and drought cycles. The river is also entangled in water disputes as the countries through which it flows grapple with the increasing demand for its precious resource. Pollution, too, is a pressing concern, with industrial waste and urban runoff threatening the health of the river and those who rely on it. Yet despite these challenges, the Nile remains a sight to behold. Its waters continue to flow, nurturing life along its banks, reflecting the golden sunsets and carrying the stories of the civilizations it has seen rise and fall. It stands as a testament to the resilience of nature, even in the face of human interference and environmental change. The Nile River, stunning yet treacherous, serves as a stark reminder of the constant dance between nature's beauty and its inherent dangers.